I created portals in my game using clones, and I want to show you how I made these visuals, how you can use the portal to fire missiles, but most importantly, how I made the portal using clones. Because after all, what could possibly go wrong? The portal works by making a clone of whatever enters it. And when this clone leaves the portal, I transfer consciousness to the clone and destroy the original. But before we go into that, let me quickly show you how I made this visual effect. I made the effect by using two cameras. One that draws all the transparent objects onto a texture, and then a final camera that creates a composite using the background, then this transparent texture, and finally the portal and the portal effect on top. By having this texture separately, I can use it to read information about where there are solids, as well as to displace those pixels. Usually when we make displacement effects, they are kind of offsetting
pixels locally by a few pixels here and there.
But this effect is kind of different. We want the pixels to look like they're moving inside of the portal. So we actually want to displace more the closer we are to the portal and less the further we are, which creates this kind of stretched sprite effect. And if you imagine that we then put a noise onto this stretched sprite and we scale that noise, we get this effect where it looks like pixels are being moved from the object and into the portal. Now let's talk about the actual portal. I wanted to have the portal be a physical object, something that the player could pick up and move around with. So therefore I came up with this idea of a portal block. The portal block also serves a secondary purpose of allowing us to hide whatever is inside of there. Like if there's an object that's currently being transferred, we want to partially hide that object. And the block allows us to do this. Kind of like a magician, could use a box or a closet to hide whatever is inside of there. And why clones, you might ask? Well, you might call me crazy for wanting to use clones instead of just a hologram or something like that. I guess my answer to that is I probably am crazy. But then the real answer is more like I want physical interactivity. So the reason why I made full physical clones is because I want the object that's being transferred into the portal to be just as interactive as the object that exits the portal. And I believe there's actually some games that do this. Like I would definitely assume that this is how the game Portal works, at least for cubes and physical objects. I can't say for sure about the player, but at least for the physical objects, it's very clear that they are, just as interactive in one end of the portal as in the other end of the portal, right? So let's start implementing it. I started by creating this sort of trigger zone, where whatever physical object that walks inside of this trigger zone is cloned to the other portal. And this is what happened next. Okay, that wasn't so good. The memory is kind of running up. It looks like we're creating an infinite number of clones. Yeah, so what's happening is that as soon as we have one clone, it wants to clone itself back into the other portal that we originally came from. I fixed this using a physics function called ignore collision. So whenever something is being cloned, we ignore it from the trigger that we are exiting to. Okay, let's try it now. Well, at least it's not crashing. I mean, this is not really how the portal is supposed to work. Let's try to make the portal transparent so we can see what is going on. Oh, they're being created on the wrong side. Okay. Oh, turns out my math isn't mathing right now. We'll look into that later. Okay, at least it's on the right side now, but we're getting quite a lot of clones. It's like they're duplicating. Let me put the breakpoint and see what's happening. So we're entering the trigger zone twice. First with the waist collider, and then with the feet collider. Oh, that makes sense. If we look at my engineer, I actually do have two colliders, one feet collider and waist collider. So I guess the fix is just to ignore colliders for a physics object that we are already tracking. Finally. Okay, this is how it's supposed to look. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to do the unthinkable. We need to destroy the original. But no worries, because when the clone leaves the portal, we make sure to first transfer consciousness, or I guess control, from the original to the clone. So we're technically just destroying a clone, right? Nothing problematic with that, right? And yeah, that seems to work too. Now you can safely, by some definition of safe, be transferred through the portal. One thing that is a bit weird is when you have two portals facing in the same direction and you kind of run into one of them, jamming a button. If you keep holding that button down, the player is kind of just wiggling between the two portals, and it's very hard to let go of the keyboard at the right point to decide which of the two portals you would exit. So we need a fix for this that kind of remaps the player's input so that you're not required to do this instantaneous switching on the keyboard. We actually do this a lot of times in game development, but usually you don't think about it. There's actually a great video by a guy called Jon Neski, who worked on the beautiful game Journey called 50 Camera Mistake. One of the things he recommends is strictly letting cuts remap directional controls. And then he has this example where you are moving towards a sandfall that you cannot see through. So the camera will make a cut and you're pressing the forward direction on your stick or on your keyboard. And as soon as the cut has been made and you see this new environment, the player is of course not expected to immediately, switch their button that they're pressing. So the game lets them keep this button being pressed and reinterpret it as the new forward direction in the new scene. And it's exactly the thing that we want to do here as well. So I created this component that I called Portal Sickness, which is added to the player when you exit the portal. And the portal signals contains the forward direction of the previous portal and the forward direction of the new portal. So while you're holding down the key that goes forward, it will go forward in the direction of the new portal as well for a brief period. And then I kind of smoothly fade out that effect. If we try it now, you can see that player keeps running down when he exits the portal, and you get this kind of moment where you can grab the controls and move him away from the portal. To improve the experience even more, I added this exit force so that when you leave the portal, there is a force applied to the player or any object. I also took the opportunity to record a swoosh sound by just creating a sort of air collision next to the mic. I added some filters and I found some electrical noise that I added on top, but very vaguely. I think it sounds kind of good. I also made it so that the forces between the two pairs are kind of balanced together using a physical constraint. So not just copying the positions, but making sure that the velocities are balanced as well. And this allowed this scenario that some very smart person on Reddit commented about, where in a theoretical scenario where you have a fan blowing only on the clone but not on the original, if that would affect the original. And the original answer from me was no, but this guy was very smart, so I did never think about this. But luckily I tried it out this time and I finally got it working. So yeah, and I also made this fan to show that it works. But yeah, so thanks for that. That was awesome. But what I decided to not transfer between the clones though is actually the lives, at least for the player. I found it kind of funny that you could exploit your clone as an extra life. So whichever dies first of the two clones, I transfer consciousness or control to the other clone. And this allows you to kind of use it as an extra life, as I show in this example here. Now let's talk about the missile launcher. You might have seen the broken missile launcher in my previous video. Basically a unit that fires a missile whenever it's damaged. And if we make it fire into one portal, we can actually place another portal so that it fires on itself, creating this almost infinite loop. Of course it kind of dies very quickly, but it's still fun. You might have also remembered from the previous video that you could put a saw blade next to the missile launcher to make it fire even faster. But we need to do something about its health. So I created this new unit that I call the repair bot, which heals all the nearby mech units every 3 seconds. If we place the repair bot next to the missile launcher, we actually have an infinite missile launcher. And if we fire into the portal, we can actually pick up the other portal and use it as a sort of portable rocket launcher. I guess all we're really missing now is explosives and something that moves around to shoot at. So in order to get that, I started drawing this spawner that is supposed to kind of fly and fall from the sky and land and then spawn enemies. So I added that. Now you can see that they are spawning down from the sky and we have something to shoot at. So let's try and put it all together. Beautiful! And you can both control the portal rocket launcher by hand, or you can put it down and start hitting some enemies on the ground. Okay, that was a lot of stuff. But one final touch. I added a parameter to the shader so that I could actually control the color of the portal. And then I made it so that the pairs of portals all have a unique and distinct color, so you can easily see which portal pairs are connected to each other. Don't they look beautiful? I also made this beam that when you hover over them so you can see it even clearer. And if you happen to be colorblind, I created this sort of glyph or symbol on top of the portals that I made sure to be distinct between the pairs. So you can actually use this symbol as well to see which 2 portals are being connected. Okay, that was a long and very detailed update from me on a very specific feature that I worked for now on a month or 3 or a while. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. It probably took me more time than I was expecting, but I really like the portal. It's very fun, and weirdly enough, I still look forward to other stuff. This video making though takes a hell of a lot of my time. I don't know what to do about that, but we'll see about that. As long as people like it, I'm happy. So yeah, thanks a lot, people. See you again. Oh, looks like there's still clones escaping though. Okay, looks like it's not so bad. I found this corner of the portal where if you go near it, you're still not inside of the portal, but it still created a clone, and that clone could then escape. I think I fixed that now by making just the area a bit smaller. Hopefully it won't ever happen again.